Welcome to the deep dive. Let's jump right in, because I know what's on everyone's mind.
Yeah,
Your 2024 tax refund. Getting it smoothly, getting it quickly.
absolutely. It's a big part of personal finances for so many people.
So we've been digging through the latest from the IRS. Updates, reports, looking at the timelines, any new extensions, those tricky notices.
Mm-hmm.
The goal today, really just cut through the noise, give you the essential info you need for your 2024 refund, the one you filed for this year, 2025.
Exactly. It's about understanding the current picture, Knowing what the IRS is saying now can help you plan and, well, understand if things seem a bit slow.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. Dates. When can people actually expect to see that money?
Okay, so the initial info we saw pointed to rounds of refunds going out around April 16th and April 18th.
Okay, 16th and 18th. So mark those on your calendar if you filed early.
And then more recent updates added April 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th to that list as well.
So a few more dates coming right up. That's good news for folks still waiting.
It is. Now remember, when the IRS gives these dates, that's typically when they send the funds out.
Right, which leads us to direct deposit. Most people use that now, it seems.
It's definitely the fastest. Generally, you'll see the money in your account by that official refund date.
Yeah.
Sometimes, maybe even a day or so sooner.
Depending on your bank, right?
Exactly. Depends on how quickly your bank processes incoming payments. It's usually pretty quick these days.
But what if it doesn't show up right on that date?
Good question. The IRS actually advises waiting a bit. They say give it up to 5 business days after the scheduled date before you start thinking about, initiating a payment trace.
5 business days. Okay, that's important. Don't panic on day one.
Right. And for those still getting paper checks,
Yes, the classic paper check.
those naturally take longer. Expect maybe 7 to 10 days after the refund date for it to arrive in your mailbox.
Makes sense. Mail takes time. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. How is the IRS doing overall with processing this year?
Well, looking at the numbers gives us some context. One of the earlier updates we checked showed they'd processed about 100.3 million returns
Out of how many filed at that point?
out of roughly 101.4 million filed. So that left about 198,000 still needing processing.
Almost 200,000. That sounds like a lot, but maybe not compared to the total.
It's a big number, but what was interesting was that this backlog, the 198,000, was actually up from the previous report's figure of about 123,000.
Oh, so the pile of unprocessed returns grew a bit at that point. That's counterintuitive.
It suggests maybe certain types of returns were taking longer, or maybe just the inflow was heavy right then. But the later figures showed more progress.
Okay, what did the newer numbers say?
They showed 116.2 million processed out of 117.5 million filed. So the unprocessed number then was closer to 1.3 million.
Wow, 1.3 million still in the queue. So while they're getting through a massive volume, delays are definitely still happening for some people.
Absolutely. Some filers might find their refunds are delayed, potentially even stretching into the summer.
And speaking of timing, the April 15th deadline wasn't the deadline for everyone, was it? There were extensions.
Correct. Due to FEMA disaster declarations, automatic extensions were granted in several areas.
Like whole states, right?
Mm.
I remember seeing Alabama, Florida.
Yep. Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, entire states got that automatic extension.
And some smaller areas, too.
Uh-huh. Specific places like Juneau in Alaska, Chavez County in New Mexico, and also certain counties in Tennessee and Virginia. It depended on the disaster declaration.
And there were even later deadlines for very specific situations.
Yes, like Los Angeles County, related to those January wildfires, they have until October 15th.
October 15th, okay.
And then Kentucky and parts of West Virginia have until November 3rd.
So if you're in Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia, you really need to check the IRS website.
Definitely. Go check the IRS site for the exact list of counties that qualify for that extension relief. It wasn't statewide in those cases.
Okay. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about those codes you see when you check your refund status online. Tax topic codes. They can be confusing.
They can seem cryptic, yeah. Let's start with a common one. Tax topic code 152.
152, what's that usually mean?
Generally, seeing 152 is fine. It just means your return is being processed. It's pretty standard to see that while you're waiting.
And I heard sometimes it just disappears, like no code shows up.
That happens too, and it's also usually normal. Don't panic if the 152 vanishes and nothing replaces it immediately. It's still part of the process.
Okay. But what about tax topic code 151? That one sounds a bit more serious.
It can be. Code 151 usually signals that the IRS has found a potential issue, and it often means your refund amount is going to be adjusted, either up or down.
An adjustment, okay. And code 203.
Tax topic code 203 means your return has been processed, but your refund has been reduced.
Reduced why?
It's typically because an offset for an outstanding debt, things like past due child support, maybe state income taxes you owe, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So the codes give clues, but sometimes you get actual mail, right? IRS letters.
Exactly. And we've seen a few common ones this year, like letter 2644C.
The 30-day notice.
That's the one. It basically says, we need more time, often up to 30 days more from the letter's date. It frequently happens when they're double-checking wage information, comparing what you reported to what your employer sent in.
Making sure it all matches up.
Right. And you might even get more than one of those letters while they're reviewing things. It's frustrating, but doesn't automatically mean disaster.
Okay. What about the CPO5 notices?
CPO5 means they need more information from you. They're actively requesting documents, usually pay stubs or other wage forms, to verify your income before they can finish processing.
So you have to send stuff in.
Traditionally, yes, by mail.
Awesome.
But the good news is the IRS is increasingly allowing online uploads for these documents now.
Oh, that's huge. Much faster than mailing, I bet.
Potentially much faster, yes. It can really speed things up if you can use the online portal.
And one more letter, CP75.
Right, the CP75 letter. This one usually goes to people claiming certain credits, especially like the Earned Income Tax Credit, the EITC.
Okay, EITC, what do they want then?
They'll be asking for documentation to prove eligibility, often related to dependents like birth certificates, school records, proof of where the child lived.
Makes sense for those credits. So, beyond the official notices, what are some other common reasons refunds just get stuck?
Well, simple entry errors are surprisingly common. Math mistakes on the return.
Really? People still make math errors.
Oh, yeah. Back in 2022, there were something like 17 million returns with math errors. But the good news is the IRS systems catch and correct a lot of those automatically.
So a simple math slip might not actually delay you.
Often it won't because they fix it. Another big one, though, is discrepancies.
Discrepancies between what?
Between the income you reported and what your employer reported to the IRS. If those numbers don't match, the system flags it.
And then they ask for proof, like those CPO5 notices.
Exactly. Also, claiming certain credits can trigger an additional review, even without an error. Things like the EITC again, the additional child tax credit, even the solar credit. They might just need more documentation for those.
So just claiming the credit itself can add time.
It can. And here's one people might not think about. Delays can happen if the IRS hasn't received or processed your employer's tax filings yet.
Ah, because they need that to compare against your return?
Precisely. If the employer is late, it can hold you up.
What else? Identity verification.
Still a factor, yes. Even if you verified in the past, you might get flagged again. Your refund is on hold until you complete the ID verification process, which thankfully can often be done online.
Okay, always check for that possibility. And the obvious one,
Filing on paper.
still leads to delays.
Almost always.
Yeah.
Just takes IRS staff much longer to manually key in everything from a paper return compared to an e-filed one. E-file's the way to go for speed.
Definitely. Now, what about amended returns? People file those if they made a mistake on their original return. How long are those taking?
The current average processing time seems to be hovering around 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. That's actually not terrible compared to previous years, is it?
No, it's pretty consistent with last year and definitely much faster than it used to be when it could take many, many months.
That's encouraging. And people need to use a different tool to check the status, right?
Critical point.
Yeah.
Yes, use the dedicated Where's My Amended Return tool on the IRS website. Don't use the regular Where's My Refund tool for an amended return. It won't show the right status.
Good reminder. Okay, one last thing. That yellow action required message some people see online sounds alarming.
It can definitely make your heart skip a beat. It means the IRS has flagged a potential issue that needs your attention.
What kind of issue usually?
Most often, it relates to a possible problem with the wage amounts or the tax withholding amounts reported on your return. There might be a mismatch they need you to clarify.
So similar to those other discrepancies we talked about?
Pretty much. And because of that, you should expect a letter in the mail. They'll be asking for more information, likely asking for supporting documents.
Like W-2s, 1099s, pay stubs.
Exactly. Copies of those documents to back up the numbers you reported.
And again, the possibility of uploading online.
Yes, increasingly, they're offering the option to upload these documents securely online, which, as we said, can be a real time saver compared to mailing.
Okay, so that action required means watch your mailbox, gather your documents, and check if you can upload them online.
That's the drill. So really, the big takeaway here is that staying informed about these IRS updates, understanding the codes, the notices, the common delay reasons, it all empowers you.
Right. It helps you manage expectations about when that refund might actually show up. And you know what to do if you hit a snag.
You're not just waiting in the dark. You have a better sense of the process.
So we really hope this deep dive helps you figure out where things stand with your own refund. Think about whether any of this applies to your situation.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. The tax system is always changing, always evolving. Looking ahead, what other steps could you take proactively next year or the year after to make your tax filing and refund process even smoother?
Something to think about for sure. How to streamline things on your end for the future. Great point.